I got everything recording, so we got everything good. I think we're good.
We're on.
No idea where this is going to go. Just wanted to drag an old friend in for a good reason.
It's great. Haven't talked to you for a long time, actually, so this is a good reason to get together.
Yeah. So we're going to start out with, would you like to do the opening?
Hey, this is Liz. Oh, no, this is Purist.
Yeah, right.
That's Liz. Coming to you live.
Yeah. And we have a very special guest today. I brought in one of my oldest friends of all time that knows me more than anybody else from my past. If you think people have had to put up with me over the last couple years, you can only imagine what it was like back in the day. Because if I had an ego now, imagine my ego when I didn't know any better and all the other good qualities that I had back in the day. But this is my best friend here, Mr. Jason Heron, invited to the show. And I have a very special reason for inviting you to the show. I have been dying to talk about Primus. He is my oldest friend of Primus. We are huge music buffs. And a lot of the funniest thing of when you asked me to do this show in the first place, I had thought about this right away because this is all we did in high school and college is talk music. I mean, that was our favorite thing to do all the time.
Yeah, just rap
So
about music.
here we are talking about music, and what better way than to talk about number 2 of my favorite bands of all time, the one and only Primus.
See, it is.
Well, I mean, before we start with Primus, I noticed her shirt Nirvana. I'll never forget one of my probably most memorable moments from my childhood was when we were driving back from a WSI class.
Right, and we're going to bring all that up on that episode. That's why I said we got to do both of them. That's exactly the point.
Okay, well, then I'll save that story for the next one.
Correct. Yeah, stop. And the funny thing, too, is she said, she asked if she should wear what shirt, and I said, yeah, wear your Nirvana shirt because it's going to remind us, hey, we have to do this again after this episode. Don't forget. Yeah. That's our reminder to go. We have a whole nother story.
So you got to come back.
Look how well it worked.
Yeah, see, look.
Told you that would work.
That's right. Well,
I'll be back. Thank you, Liz. I'll be back.
Awesome. Yes, we want you to. And I'm glad we have you here to talk about Primus because I just like Primus. I like Liz. I like the bass. But I'm not deep level, so
right,
you can never really get there with me because I'm just like, I like that song, it's good.
Well, let's start with a little bit of Jason's background. Now what did you do in high school when it comes to music?
I went to every concert I could. I don't know.
No. What'd you do for the band?
So actually it was funny, we went and watched a Bon Jovi cover band on Friday. There's not too many places. I live in Asunción now, Paraguay. And there's not too many places to watch live music, but we went to a Bon Jovi cover band, which actually was a lot of fun. And but just being in that whole band scene and seeing them coming out and sound check and setting up the drums and different things like that, I just couldn't forget the times that I spent roadieing for Dave's band, Miscellaneous Debris. So if that's the answer that you were looking for,
No.
kind of a roadie.
No, what did you do in high school? You were in
I was a drummer. Yeah, I was in the band. I was a drummer. I would play any band I could. Anything that they'd let me play drums for, I'd play it. So I was
for the marching
everything.
band and everything. Like he's always been a drummer. Was the point of this question?
So you kept the beat, man.
He was always and him
literally.
But the thing to it too is because of this core group of friends we had, because we had him and our friend David were big time drummers that played in the bands and they played in bands too. And so most of our conversations were more about drums than they were about anything else.
Right. Okay.
And my foundation to where I listen to a band is the first thing I pay attention to the drums. I do.
That's right.
That's why also one of our favorite bands is Tool. That we obsess over the drums because that's one of the most important parts of what a band. That's what makes the foundation of the band.
Yep.
Led Zeppelin, by far my all-time favorite band, Led Zeppelin. And come on, if there's not a better drummer out there, okay, maybe I don't know.
I still
definitely
think
one of the best drummers ever.
Yeah, it is. I still put Tool above it. But
no.
Oh yeah.
John Bonham, I don't know, man. That's hard to say somebody was better. Maybe Neil Peart from Rush. I don't know, but
up there also, of course, another one of their favorites, which I kind of just was along for a ride on.
And can't forget Herb, though. Herb was absolutely amazing. He
is
absolutely amazing.
I really go Tool, Primus number 1 and 2. I really do.
Yeah, I love it.
And then I'll allow Zeppelin to be number 3.
You just don't ever want to give Zeppelin anything, though.
I really don't.
Yeah.
It's too high pitch of a voice. I don't care anymore.
Ah.
It didn't. To me, it didn't follow the time. It didn't. I follow the times. It's a classic, but it's not as important anymore. You know, some things are timeless. Zeppelin's not timeless. It was a time.
Zeppelin is timeless.
I don't.
Agree to disagree with your guy.
That's like saying
looking at me
Aerosmith
over
is
there.
timeless. There's no way. There's a time and place for Aerosmith, and it's over.
I'll let you have it because you let me have Pink Floyd, but
Oh, speaking of, her least favorite band of all time is Floyd. And you know
Wow,
why it's the
that's
least
rough.
favorite band of all time for her? It's too epic. And I was like, yeah, that's the point to it. Of course it's epic. It's amazingly epic. Like, duh. That's the point. That's why it's so amazing, because it's epic.
just
Every
get
single
it.
song, epic.
it's like, yeah, I, mean, I get it, like, and I appreciate them, but I didn't need it, you know? It's like, oh, cool, like, I wasn't putting on the Wizard of Oz.
And you can't see back here, Jason.
Yeah.
We totally put on the Wizard of Oz a couple times, actually, right?
We absolutely did.
Yeah.
I just
Dark
read.
Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz, sure.
I just read that they did that to The Sound of Music. It's coincidental to Wizard of Oz, but they did do it to The Sound of Music, supposedly.
Yeah. See, I never did. Like, I mean, everyone I knew did, but I was like, it's cool, man. I can pass.
This is what I got for my
Well,
birthday.
when you... Nice. Very nice.
Completely autographed, and I was like, I looked at Nicole going, how did you get the autographs? Because two of these guys are dead. I was like, there's no way you got this from back then when this picture was taken. It would be worth
Right.
too much money. There's no way. And she's like, I guess when they did maybe Live 8 or something like that, the last time they were all together before Richard died, they must have signed them. So it'd be from like the 90s? Late 90s?
Wow, that's pretty cool, man.
Maybe? I don't know. I'm still in shock about it. I kind of don't believe it. But I have a letter of authenticity on the back of it and everything.
Got it. Got the goods. Got the goods.
I got to see part of them live, so that was actually was the last live show in Cleveland Stadium before they pushed it in the lake.
There you go.
I didn't get to
David
see them,
Gil-
so we have
David
a really
Gilmour.
good story about this, actually.
Uh-oh.
With the
And then
thing,
Adam got into another show with the tickets that we didn't use in Red Rocks. I think he went in Colorado.
that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I do another Floyd show, I was thinking about bringing both of you on for that reason, but she couldn't tolerate the first one, so that's why I didn't bring it up. But here's another fun story about this Pink Floyd concert that I didn't get to go to.
He didn't the Pink Floyd that got away.
I actually did not listen to Pink Floyd when they went to it. I didn't become a fan of Floyd until after.
Ugh.
It was coincidental to that moment because we laughed
this
about
is
this
like the
back in the
pivotal
day.
moment in your life, I guess,
Well,
is where it all
It
changed.
was going to college. So before college, Jason and Adam and the whole core group had their kind of like world that they were in. From being in the band to going out on the boat and skiing all the time. And instead, I was in sports. And I was obsessed. I was in wrestling nine months a year. I mean, really, like, it was my addiction. I wrestled all the time. I was really solid into doing all that stuff. And it's not that Jason did sports. He did wrestling too and stuff. But I was so focused on all of this and keeping my weight cut and all this other world that I missed out on a lot of the stuff that they were doing. Didn't know about any of this stuff. Is that a good way to say it, Jason?
Then he made up for it in college.
Right. And then I made up for it in college.
Yeah.
My college roommate introduced me to Floyd, and I came back and was like, guys, what the,
Let me
you
tell
know?
you about this band.
And he was like, well, we just went to see him. Or, I don't think they'd even seen him yet. But I wasn't a big enough fan to understand and to go see him. It still hadn't hit me yet. So then, a couple years later, and it's right in that same time period, I mean, it's within those first couple years, I moved to this house across the street from the college, and we go see the Grateful Dead. And
So
Jason's
far-
wearing his Pink Floyd shirt from the concert.
Right.
It's brand new almost at that point. It's pretty much brand new. I think it was like one of the first times he had even worn it from that concert. And I still wasn't quite a big enough fan to really care at that moment. I became a huge fan right after that.
You're grasping
But
it.
we go to see the Grateful Dead together.
And that's another podcast.
Rick's Deadhead days.
Well, it rained all day the whole drive there. It was supposed to be
And
in a
Buckeye
2
Lake is just in the middle of the cornfields. There's nothing there. Just farmers, fields, just everywhere.
And it was so bad that it was supposed to be a 2.5 hour drive, and it took us 8 hours to get there
Oh Jesus!
because of it's the Dead. So think about how many people go see the Dead and they don't go. They
Yeah.
just go to the parking lot for the experience, for all the followers and everything.
Parking lot. We parked in a field.
Well, we couldn't even get to the parking lot. That's what all the traffic was finding a place in the parking lot because it was already full. So we just parked in someone's front yard and just started walking. It was like almost a mile just to get to the parking lot.
Yeah, we walked quite a ways to get
That's
to.
some dedication.
What do they call that?
I
Shanty
remember
town?
getting
What do they
back
call
to the
it?
car. I don't know how I remembered to get back. I don't still to this day understand how I found my car again.
Dude,
Because
where's
we
my
were,
car?
we're from small town America. We don't know these things. We don't do this stuff very often.
Yeah.
They did it more than I ever did. I was not that kind of person. I didn't go to concerts. I was in training. They were doing all this stuff. I was in training all the time.
Rick was a good boy.
In one of the rare concerts I got to go to back then, and we went to see Nirvana back then. He didn't go with me on that one, but we did go see Primus. We did go up to Cleveland together. It was my first time in Cleveland ever outside of going up there for something kid event.
Yeah.
It was my
We
first
saw him in the
time.
flats. Remember
Yeah,
that?
we saw him in the flats.
Yeah.
And I was just 21, maybe 20. Maybe
Yeah,
we were only
something like
20.
that. I don't know.
We might not even have been able to get into
No,
bars.
because I went to a lot of my shows. I went to was more actually the end, like the last 2 years of high school and maybe the first or second year of college. So yeah, you might have been 21. Yeah, that's about right.
Maybe 20. So
Yeah.
it was crazy to go see the flats and have that whole experience. And Cleveland's a really fun town, and this is why I tell people all the time how fun Cleveland is. It starts at this exact moment right here with me,
Yeah. Okay.
because the flats didn't exist for another decade for a while. Shortly, for years there, we had the flats where it's there's a river going through Cleveland, and on both sides there's all these bars and restaurants, and you can take a ferry back and forth, and on one end of it is a stage, and that's where Primus was playing.
That's cool.
Crooked River.
And it was awesome, yeah. And it was crazy. I mean, looking back on it now, what a great setting. It was underneath the bridge. It was kind of like a rough and rugged, you're standing on concrete.
Yeah.
But we were 20 years old, 21 years old. That didn't matter.
That was a blast.
20-year-old knees at that time, so it was good.
Yeah,
We were fine.
it was epic.
Yes.
One of the best concerts, and it was really my introduction to going to a concert almost for me. I mean, I tell people all the time my very first concert of all time was Weird Al Yankovic and the Monkees at the Canfield Fair.
It's great.
I went to that show.
Oh, you were probably there at the same time. Rocking
We didn't
out
go
to
together.
Eat
I
It.
went with some other friend I forget who.
No, that was actually I think my first show that my parents ever took me to because I was a huge fan of Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
Well, I was a
And,
huge fan of the Monkees.
I was at that show. That's so crazy. So you were too. How about that? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
well, the funny thing is my mom took me and dropped me off with my buddy. I walked in there with a buddy of mine and walked out holding a girl's hand. She was so mad at me. I got yelled at. It was pretty funny.
That's funny.
But yeah, so, and then after that, it was I think I saw Huey Lewis in the News at a parking lot for an old car show or something like that. But I really had never gone to a concert until Primus.
Wow.
So that was my first major, especially, being old enough to go.
Yeah.
we didn't go to concerts very much because we didn't live close to anything. Really.
No, but I don't know. I went to a lot of shows. You could just if you would drive an hour and a half from where we lived, you could get.
That's my
there
point.
was-
Yeah.
An
There
hour,
was,
hour and a half.
yeah,
It
you
was
had to
gonna
drive
take you
an
an
hour and a half.
You had to be
But
16
we would go
first
to
of all.
what was it, Star Lake or no? Yeah, Star Lake, wasn't it?
Buckeye Lake.
No, Buckeye Lake was the one down near Columbus. That's where we went to.
I don't know the other one. I mean, we have Jogga Lake, but it wasn't up there, was it?
No, I can't. There was two amphitheaters that I used to go to all the time. Oh, Polaris Amphitheater was one of them. That was the newer one, and then there was one that was near Columbus too. There you go. I just heard the music. Sorry.
Yeah, we do that every once in a while on the show too.
Yeah, tell them it's sometimes we'll just break out kind of dancing out of our heads. Get into it.
No, I actually got to see Primus open up for Rush in Cincinnati, and I just thought that was awesome because for me, Primus is Rush on crack, right? I mean, it's a three-man band. It's just a solid band, and you got this drummer that's just phenomenal. You got a bassist that sings, a guitarist that you don't hear too much about him, but is always right there playing that riff, and he needs to be playing at the time he needs to be playing it. And just a lot of similarities between the two bands, and to watch the two of them play one right after the other, that was pretty cool.
And I love the fact that they're just lair, herb, less. You know,
Yeah.
one single name is not the whole name. You know,
Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. Yes.
and so when did you first find Primus? Was it on Seas of Cheese, or did you got to listen to Frizzle Fry before Seas of Cheese came out, didn't you?
I started listening because of Dave, for sure. That's kind of why it's weird having this conversation without him around, and I haven't talked to him forever too. Yeah, definitely with Dave in his basement. Did you ever party down in Dave's basement?
No, I never went to Dave's house.
Yeah, so that was a little pre.
This is all the stuff I missed. While he's doing all this stuff, I'm still out running somewhere in the neighborhood trying to train.
Yeah. Avoiding cauliflower ear.
Yes.
And my cousin, actually, he started a band called Miscellaneous Debris. Miscellaneous Debris is the name of a Primus album where they do some different cover tunes, right?
Yes.
And
I also have this album he's talking about somewhere in my CDs.
Oh, okay. I was going to say on the 49.2 gigs.
No, I do not have it on my phone because it's my buddy's doing it. It's not that. I mean, it's okay. It's not bad. And they're doing covers, so I didn't really think about it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, but they called their band Miscellaneous Debris.
I'm on track. I got off track, but back there. I got it now. I thought you were talking about the Primus album.
Right. It's a double. And I almost wore Skeeter, which is his favorite character. He wanted to get tattooed on him. I was going to
you
wear
remember
Skeeter.
that? How about I was going to say that now, actually? Yeah, wow, I'm impressed.
Of course I do. Why do you think I invite you onto the show? We're talking Primus. These are some of the best memories of our childhood. It really, again, it has to do with music too. I mean, I've told them when we listened to Floyd the last time, I told them about the sanitarium and try to explain that, try to explain that chaos, man.
That was nuts.
Because no one believes me on that one. They're all like, you had a what? You had a big giant water tank of nowhere for the sound to come out of. That was a place to just go nuts.
I mean, I feel like that's so Pink Floyd, though. That's exactly what you should do if you come across something like that.
Well, I definitely think it's also this song too.
Yeah.
Because this is Nature Boy, which is about running around naked in your house and having a good old nature time. It's kind of what you felt like there. It's like you wanted to just go nuts.
Yeah, I like it. So, okay, what happened at this Dead concert that opened your eyes to Pink Floyd? I know
that's a separate conversation. I'm sorry. So I got back to I forgot
I'm fine. You're fine. We're all fine.
Yes. Okay. So it just stopped raining. The concert should have been canceled. The concert started right when the rain stopped. It could have been more perfect when it comes to the idea of going to see Grateful Dead and everything.
That's
anyway.
Jerry.
But we're walking through the parking lot, and it's just a pile of mud. I mean, you have to be careful walking. And there's this little dip, just this little tiny dip. And I saw it. I walked around it. He didn't see it. He just went, boom.
Oh, no.
Right on his back.
Oh.
Perfect, flat, in the middle of the mud and everything.
New Pink Floyd shirt.
Brand new. And he was upset. And this was part of the obsession to why I brought that story up. This is what made me think of it.
Okay.
So I carefully walk over and help him get up. And, the problem is at that moment, one, we're having a lot of fun at Grateful Dead. Two, you don't want to ruin the moment. You don't want to have that, you're going to have a bad time because you're covered in mud moment.
Yes.
So I flat out walked up to him and brushed his shoulder and said, "You're good."
You're good.
And he's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "You're fine. There's nothing on you. That was I got this little bit of mud off of your shoulder. You're fine." And he's like flipping out. And I said, "You're fine. I'm fine. We're all fine. We're just fine."
There you go.
And he's just like, "Okay, are you sure?" And I had to do it again. Oh. "You're fine. It was a slogan. Every time we had a moment of panic, I'd be like, one of us would go, "You're fine. I'm fine. We're all fine." To calm us all down.
Yeah.
I had to do it a lot for Jason here because, you know, it's wet mud. You know that he feels it and he's trying to.
I'm sure it's suddenly twice as heavy as it used to be. You know?
You're like, yeah, am I fine though, Rick? Really? Am I? No, you are. You're good, man.
But you know what? Sometimes it's better off to believe stuff like that because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
A few drinks in, he didn't care anymore. It didn't matter.
Actually, there was that's how I got my had I known. I have it here. That's where I got my Grateful Dead shirt.
You still have yours?
Of course.
I can't find mine. I think I got, because I bought that one off that guy. I can't find it. I think I let go of it. I think I accidentally let go of it.
You bought.
I have all of my concert shirts.
I bought it off a random guy out in the parking lot.
Like he was just wearing it. And you're like, I like
no.
this shirt,
I
dude.
mean, like a guy a follower that sells stuff. That's how he makes money to follow the dead. I bought it from one of those.
Outside of Grateful Dead shows, that's why a lot of Grateful Dead shows are just out in the middle of nowhere because they attract so many people. And they have so many followers that drive up in their VW bugs or VW buses and just camp out in those. That they literally make, and there's a name for it. I can't think of it, but a shanty town or something. I don't know. But they literally just set up shop, I mean, they set up their little camp. Everybody's opening up their camper vans and sleeping right there, and they're selling all their goods, from A to Z. And
I love it.
All the jewelry, all the tie-dye, and the tie-dyes you saw that were just amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, tie-dye, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I think we should do an episode on them, their culture, like the Deadhead culture, like that kind of,
Yeah. Well, then we can't tell the rest of the story if we're gonna do that because we gotta tell.
We gotta bring them back. Just gotta come back.
There's just so much story to that concert. It was one of the most epic concerts of all time because here's another part of it. Like, obviously, we don't want to go into talking about like the drugs and everything that was going on around us.
No drugs at a Deadhead concert. No.
We don't need to go into too much detail. Someday our kids are going to listen to this. But what we will say is when you get off the highway, see if you remember this story. We get off the highway, and at that point, both lanes become one direction because it's just so crowded. There is no two directions. There's one way in, and that's it until it's over, and then there's one way out.
Traffic was nuts. It was absolutely insane.
So these guys are walking through the street just selling stuff, and a guy was walking by going, Jesus, anybody want some Jesus? Jesus here. Anybody need some Jesus? And
looking for a miracle.
So we just opened the door, and I'm driving a minivan. I'm the driver. I'm in a minivan, and that's what I was driving the whole time back then. And so we just opened the door, and the dude just jumps in and sits down with us and starts talking to us, and we just sit there and get to know him for a little bit while we're driving down the street.
Told you about your Lord and Savior Jesus.
Getting what we needed.
Yeah.
For our supplies.
Prayer circle that he hopped out.
And then he hopped out and went about his business to the next one.
Like it.
And it was quite the experience. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so then from that point on, we have trouble keeping everybody in line. Like there's 5 or 6 of us. And one guy is obsessed with as much as he can get in contact with. So he would just veer off and walk away.
Oh, no.
And he acted like nothing was happening, like he was fine. And I had to keep corralling him back.
Need a little leash.
My friend Marty and I were the most prepared, most organized of every one of them. So one of us took front and one of us took the back, and we would just keep shooing everybody and trying to keep them in a line to get where we needed to go to get through all of this. It was like herding cattle, the whole entire concert. So we get to the concert, we're finally there, they're finally starting, and we're all cheering. We're like, we made it. Where's the band? We see this rainbow. We see where the stage is. We know the stage is in front of us. Yeah. And there's this whole gap where no one's standing. And we're standing there. And we think everything is great. But where the hell is the band? We hear them.
Oh, no. Are they behind you?
Remember this, Jason?
Unfortunately.
And why couldn't we see the band?
There was a building in front of us.
I was just like, can't wait, man.
Took us forever to figure out there's a big brick wall in front of us.
Do you remember Johnny Land?
Yes, Johnny Land was there too. That was the biggest Porta John wall. It was its own town.
Middle of the fields, and it's kind of that part of Ohio is a real rolling terrain.
Yeah.
It's not real flat. It's not super hilly, but it's a rolling terrain. And so you walk in, and they just have, I don't know, a couple hundred porta potties. And they're just kind of slant down the hill, and it was just so weird. And then they have this big kind of comical sign that says Johnny Land.
All mud. And the problem is, in where we're mentally at, going into that area and then trying to say, okay, we're going to meet you here.
Yeah.
But that was a hurdle beyond hurdles.
Yeah, just uncomprehendable.
Nothing. And even like when we finally figured out we were standing behind the building, we kind of moved. And So
Then the show got a lot better.
one of my favorite moments, he knows I'm going there too, but one of my favorite moments is we finally figured that out. We finally see the band and we're staring there watching it and we're having a great time. And Jason starts dancing up a storm. We all do. You know, we're all having a good old time. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's this guy dancing near us that's kind of like a yuppie. He's got like a raincoat on, hoodie raincoat, but he's kind of dressed as a yuppie. And he's not a hippie. Like, it didn't make any sense.
No deadhead.
But he was partying. I mean, he was dancing up a storm. So Jason just casually kind of goes up and dances beside him for a second. The dude just stops and stares at him. And he freaks out and runs behind me. And he's like, that guy doesn't like me. And he starts panicking. And I'm like, here we go again. I'm fine. You're fine. We're all fine.
Are we supposed to be talking about Primus here? Or?
This is the
No, we're just
normal
using
theme
Primus
here.
in the background to talk about our memories. That's the point.
We say we're going to talk about something,
And we just ramble about whatever
and then
comes up.
we quote Led Zeppelin, and say, "Ramble on." And so. But that's
Sand and Man, like the song too. But no, it's about concerts in general and about all the different things that you and I have gotten to do when it comes to music, because that's all we talked about. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
We obsessed over Primus. Every album. Did you hear this part of the album? Did you hear this part? Did you catch this lyric?
to like pick it apart. Yeah.
Oh, without
Yeah,
a
like,
question.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
of course, it starts with the drums and then leads into the other instruments.
Yeah.
Every single conversation. And it's never changed for me. It's what I do with everything I listen to. I start with the drums
Start
and
with
work
the
my way
drum.
through.
There you go.
And come back to the lyrics of the last part. It's really not the most important part.
So it's safe to say
Well,
that, like,
well.
Jason. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said it all goes together well.
Yeah. And okay, it's safe to say you introduced you to Primus.
No,
No. Okay.
I found out about Primus on 120 Minutes
Okay.
on MTV.
Yeah. Okay.
Late night, and they were showing new up-and-coming bands, and there was a live performance going on, and they were at the performance, and they were talking about this band and their new album, Seas of Cheese.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, okay, this sounds really good, and their album is called Seas of Cheese? That's weird. And then I went and looked it up at the store, and I found the album, the CD, and it was literally like all cheese, and it was a sea scene with a ship on it, you know, and all this. I'm like, what the heck?
What am I looking at?
That's where it started. So then I went home and listened to it and came back to these guys.
Album, I think.
What's that?
I personally think that's the best album. That's probably what I like the best. That's number one, and then Frizzle Fry number two.
It's tough for me. I almost want to say Frizzle Fry is still better.
Yeah.
I think Seas of Cheese has their best song of all time, but I think Frizzle Fry is still better.
Yeah, I think that, what, Jerry is a race car driver? Or
No.
What?
No, them damn blue-collared tweakers.
I don't know, man. I'm a huge Jerry is a race car driver.
It's a great
so-
song, but I think them damn blue-collared tweakers is way better.
But look, we're talking two of the best songs off of one album. It's
And they're
kinda
both on
why-
the same album.
Kind of why I lean towards that album. I'm not taking anything away from Frizzle Fry. Absolutely, just awesome. Love Frizzle Fry. Those are the two discs that I still listen to the most, by far.
Yeah, so I think I had come back to these guys.
Pork Soda.
It
Number
was
three,
like- What's that? My number 3 is what?
Pork Soda.
Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely. Because then after that, they start changing drummers.
Yeah.
So I agree. Well, no, Tales from the Punch Bowl. Man, it's tough.
They got a little weird on Tales from the Punch Bowl. I guess that's hard to say about Primus that they got weird, right? But even by Primus standards, they got a little weird on Tales from the Punch Bowl. Got a little gimmicky. Winona's Big Brown Beaver, you know, hitting the radio charts.
Yeah, but they also became more purist of their art form, because they also have the song on there about plagiarism and pushing that point of like we're not doing somebody else's music. Without a shadow of doubt, we are unique, we are original, we are one of a kind. Stop copying other people. You can clearly tell it's almost like a rapper, you know, having their "we're better than you" kind of song, saying it's all about the fact that you're plagiarizing and we're not. And I think the ego is beautiful. I mean, I think it's really well done, and it's very. They're wailing. I mean, they're hauling on it. They're playing really well. It's a great tune. I mean, the whole album. I think it's when they are at their best almost, I would say, with their abilities, with their connection. They were doing the best together. It is different, it is quirky, but the music itself is probably still some of their best out there.
On the Punch Bowl?
Yeah.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
It's from a purist point of view.
From okay, so we get this a lot with me. So I'm like, he's like, no, Purist. This is where I'm going. Like, okay.
But you know what? I think part of what I like about some of the earlier discs, and I think I like this about a lot of the bands, is I like it when it's a little dirtier. You know, when everything isn't so clean.
Mm-hmm. A little grainy, a little grit in there.
See, like this song right now. This is a Southbound Pachyderm. This is
good song.
One
I
of their
agree.
top.
Good song. Oh yeah, this was a good song. Probably the one I like the most off. Yeah.
There's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, and I think there is more of a purity to what they were doing at that point. But it's tough because they all have such great songs. I mean, you don't think about a greatest hits when it comes to Primus very much because they didn't have a lot of hits. Mm-hmm. But for us to put together a greatest hits album, it would just be unreal, the ones that would go on there, because they're mostly the obscure songs.
Yeah.
You know, like Jerry's Race Car Driver is not one of my favorites just because it was overplayed. I didn't care. Like that's the radio version kind of their music. I was more obsessed with all of their ones that no one cared about. You know, we have great stories about like from Seas of Cheese. You know, what's the ones that we always the Spaghetti Western and
that's a really good tune too.
And the Toys go. You know, the Toy song, stuff like that. The Toys Go Winding Down. There's a lot of songs right in that part that are very pure also in the music of Primus, to my point, that are pretty epic.
Yeah, that's true. Toys Go Winding Down, that is, I think that's the name of that song, isn't it? I'm not even sure. But yeah, that one is reminds me a little bit more of what you hear on Tales from the Punch Bowl. So if that's what you're trying to say, then...
no, that's not Tales from the Punch Bowl, that's Seas of Cheese.
I know, but I'm saying that one there reminds me of, or better yet, Tales from the Punch Bowl reminds me a little bit of that song.
That's what I was saying, yeah. But that comes off of, hold on. See, I have some of these where I don't have the actual names of the tracks, and that's the funny thing is because when I downloaded these CDs to my computer, back when I did that, these didn't actually show up right away as easy as a lot of other bands do, and some did show up and some didn't, and I haven't gone back and rewrote all the songs in.
It's gonna be a lot.
So I just have like track 1, 2, 3, 4 in a lot of these because I know what they are.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes me a second to find exactly.
It is called the Toys Go Winding Down is off of Frizzle Fry, which definitely.
That's what I thought. That's why I was saying that.
They had Suck on This before that, but that was just like a live disc, wasn't it? I don't even think that was a studio disc.
Yeah, the Toys Go Winding Down is also on there. Pudding Time.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones you and I used to talk about all the time because that reminds me of our group. You know, like the storyline into it all, and us just sitting around listening to music and having a good time together. Really, that song almost feels like our childhood to me. The story of it and everything that's going on in it.
Pudding Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I like it.
And then of course Frizzle Fry also has probably I'll say my second favorite song, but is definitely the perfect theme song for my existence.
Uh-oh. What is this?
Which one?
Mr. Know-It-All.
Yes.
Know what I will not compromise.
I will not be told what to do. I shall not step aside.
What? Yeah. Banger.
Which, as much as I want to listen to Southbound Pachyderm, I want to listen to that song now.
I was looking through some of the discographies here and all the songs on each of the discs, and I can literally just put those on and play them without stopping.
Yeah.
All three of those, I wouldn't skip a song on it.
No, I completely agree with you, and listening to it from first song to last song without stopping. I don't listen to it on random. I listen to it in order all the time. Same thing with Floyd.
Okay.
Coincidentally, even though these aren't concept albums, I do feel a sense of I have to listen to them in order also, just like I do with Floyd.
Like
you don't put random Floyd on random. That defeats the purpose.
Definitely don't put Floyd on random.
No.
No, sir.
You don't go full random on Floyd.
You can't though. I mean, even some of the songs lead into the other songs depending on the album, right? So you literally can't.
Yeah, and there's little intros that they throw in that I don't really care about that much. That are silly. You know, like pork soda has a little random thing about drinking pork soda, and it's kind of a funny advertisement. You'll be feeling just fine. You know, ain't nothing like sitting around the house drinking down some kinds of swine. It's so silly, you know. But there are some fun ones. There's one where in Frizzle Fry where the guy's in the shower, singing in the shower, and it's just random.
Yeah.
You know, and then some of the other ones they have like a guy running for office, you know, whether it's like Senate or mayor or something like that, and so it's his campaign speech and with a song to it, and it's just real quick, but it's the kind of genre of sound that they have to it and storyline that's kind of cool.
But yeah, like Queens of the Stone Age, that's what I feel like.
Well, it's almost more like you saw the movie Gangs of New York.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Les and his weird outfits, it almost feels like it's that time of life, and it's a song written during, you know, that time, trying to do a presentation about why I should be your mayor.
I see it.
Is that a good way to say it?
Yes.
all of their albums are like that. And then of course the biggest thing too is you have all the fishing songs. You know, John the Fisherman is like the beginning of it all on Frizzle Fry, but every single album has songs about fishing for sturgeon.
So is there a reason? Do we know?
Yeah,
why they
because
do
they
that?
live in the Bay Area off of San Francisco, and in that bay they fish for sturgeon.
So it's really just that simple.
Yeah, and it's like,
just like
but the
we're
thing is
fishing.
sturgeon's not a normal fishing. It's a 6-foot fish.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's on the edge of fishing for a shark. You know, or like it's your closest you're gonna get to going deep sea fishing without going deep sea fishing, because they drink the bottom, like they eat the bottom. They're like bottom feeders, but they're really good meat, I guess, or whatever, and they're a fun catch. So every single one is all about fishing for that until you get to their last album where it's about salmon instead.
Switch locations. The sturgeons. We're going
Well,
salmon
the salmon
this time.
one it's the last Salmon Man. It's about an area that always fished salmon until they ran out, and then everybody started running out of jobs and starting to leave the town, and his dad begged him before he died to keep doing it, so he's the last one standing.
Oh, wow.
The song's about.
Okay. There's a lot of fish history.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, the
I
last
mean,
Salmon Man. It's because you got to read all the lyrics. That's what he's literally saying. You know, I told my dad I would stick around. My dad begged me to keep it going, and he becomes the last one, and I think he finally does catch him. I don't remember, but
So you get like, because I mean, like I said, I listen to Primus on a very surface level. Like I like them, but I haven't dived deep into them. So like, do they trick you, where they give you just like nonsense, silly lyrics, but then also, if
No.
you're really paying attention, there's some real deep shit there that you just...
no, he's a really good storyteller. He was
Yeah,
raised.
everything's a story, for sure.
Yeah, it's about the storytelling. He's got a story for every one of them, and some of them are real.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of them are real. A lot of them might be, especially Tales from the Punch Bowl. That's like literally tales that he has about, and like he did one song called Hats Off, and it was all about thanking all of his family or his friends that growing up and the people that he looks up to remind him how to do these things this way and to do it the right way, like to be hardcore about what you're going to do. So he's saying hats off to all the people that got me to where I'm at.
Okay.
You know, because I wouldn't be telling stories like this if it wasn't for you, and things like to remind him to tell a story and to go into detail and things. And like Del Davis Tree Farm is on Tales from the Punch Bowl, and Del Davis Tree Farm is a real place in San Jose. And one of my friends that I used to play Halo 3 with actually got his trees from Del Davis Tree Farm every year for Christmas.
Is there a...
And actually went to Les's house for a party and stuff like that too.
Oh, that's cool. Well, guess where I got my Christmas tree, yo? Is there a story behind the bass, like how he got to be at this level?
Other
Like-
than he's just quirky, crazy, and probably an oddball that had nothing else to do. You know?
No.
I don't know.
So there's no, like, well, that's what I was wondering. Like, I didn't know if there's any
I don't know.
kind
Do you
of,
know
like-
the history of each of the members?
I don't
About
know any story. All I know is that he was an amazing bassist. I mean, there wasn't too many. He played regular 4-string. He played a 6-string. He played a 6-string fretless bass. He played, stand-up bass. There wasn't it
a
was
single
bass,
a single string,
yeah, so
Whatever
the guy
that
was,
thing
the
is.
guy was pretty good.
a washed-up bass.
Washed up bass, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, like, that's obviously, that's what Primus is, that bass, that just, like, that crazy...
Well, and the thing is, it's just they're quirky. You know, him and Larry. Well, all three of them, I think, went to high school together. But they just have this kind of quirky storyline that they all just clicked on for some reason, especially him and Lair. You know, Herb was a little bit more of the oddball. They kind of, you know, at first was on board, but kind of changed direction a little bit on his thoughts on what they were doing, because he is the purist of the band. Really, Herb is the one that was like kind of left the band because he didn't believe the direction didn't like the direction they were going. Where Les and Lair just wanted to have a good time and were just having fun. One of the things I learned, like, there's a song that Les did with Government Mule live on my Government Mule album I have, where the lead guitarist of Government Mule breaks a string, and all of a sudden he's like, well, you know, you can just go ahead and play for a minute and let me go get this fixed and come back. And Les doesn't know what to do. He wasn't a jam band. They were very calculating about everything they did. They didn't veer off too much. It wasn't just a jam band of this music. They were hardcore and structured. So is that's why we liked Rush so much. You know, Rush was very structured too. They didn't just wing it. They didn't just go off on a tangent. They were hardcore. They knew what they were doing. Tool is the same way too. These are structured bands, purists, as I say, in what we do and the way they play and everything like that. Herb was one of those people. Les and Lair wanted to have a little bit more fun.
They were loose.
But they didn't let go of that too much. They were pretty hardcore about it. And it wasn't until one of their last albums when they had Jay Lane come in. Now, Jay Lane was their very first drummer from high school that they had with them, and he left the band to go do stuff with like the Grateful Dead and go that. He wanted to be a jam band. He didn't want to be the direction that they were going, and so he left the band and went off to go be he ended up becoming a member of the Grateful Dead. He ended up becoming a member of some of these other major bands back then that are jam bands, and then came back to them when Herb wasn't willing to come back. They wanted to keep it going again. Like 10 years later, they brought Jay in, and he was the one that got them to kind of loosen up a little bit, and they started to relax a little bit more and started to become a little bit more of a jam band. And then I think that intrigued Herb to go, okay, well, if you want to go that direction, let's see where we can go. And then he came back. Problem is, from that point on, then they start making these weird, twisted, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and the last one was about a children's book. It was like, what? Like, I don't know. I couldn't believe that Herb came back for that. Like, I really thought it was going to be more of this.
Yeah.
And I still think this is coming. We'll see what happens next. But for some reason, they decided to do children's books for a second.
Okay.
And we've talked about it. We were like, yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, children's books. No worries.
And then you had Sausage. Remember Sausage?
Yeah, his other bands. Oh, yeah. He's come here with some of the other bands before, but I've missed them.
That's so fun.
Sausage is the only one I can name. I don't think I can even name any of the other ones.
There's the dueling banjo one that he was doing for a while. There is Claypool. I have one of them. The fungi. What's the fungi one?
Well, no.
Really?
No.
I believe I have this on here. I'll some pictures. That's right.
He has 49.2 gigs of music.
I have Les Claypool. It's Les Claypool and the fungi. And the fungi and foe is what it's called. But it's just Les Claypool. But they have the. I forget what they're called. The fungi something that played with them when they did the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory tour. Because see, you know, since him and I talked about all this, or back in the day, then he goes off to another country, because now he lived in Brazil for years. Now he's in, I can never remember, Paraguay or Uruguay?
I'm in Paraguay.
Paraguay. I have to remember
Paraguay.
And so, you know, since then, I live in Nashville. I've seen Primus 4 or 5 times and made them jealous every single time.
Oh. Primus not coming to Paraguay often.
Yeah, no.
He's not traveling. Les is giving off real Mike Patton vibes with all the bands that he's doing. I know that you don't really follow Mike Patton and all his side projects, but
not at all.
He's a pretty fun one. I like some of his stuff. It's pretty good there.
What band is he from?
Faith No More.
Oh, Faith No More.
The lead singer does.
Yeah, because they were basically a one-hit wonder. You know, as good as it was, you didn't really see them do much after that.
I think they were kind of like you just, if you knew, you knew. And if you heard them on the radio, you'd be like, oh yeah, I like that band. But like if you knew them, you were like a fan. Like a Primus thing, I think. You know, like you either have people that listen to Primus like y'all do, or you have people that are like Winona the Big Brown Beaver. They're like, oh yeah, I like Primus, that song about the beaver, you know, and you're like, no, it's so much more.
Oh, isn't that the band that had the intro for what the hell was the? Oh man, I can't think of the name of the show.
South Park?
South Park, thank you.
Yeah, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know Primus, they did the song. Yeah, and you're like, no, you don't know Primus. I think Faith No More has a similar following.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Faith No More. Mike Patton's huge, man. Like he's very underground, but he has a really amazing voice, like crazy. So where we have less of this like unbelievable bass skill that he brings to Mike Patton's voice, is just like, it's like butter. Yeah. I will send you some.
Sorry, please.
Oh, well, I'm gonna send him some stuff. I'm gonna send Rick some of his other
homework.
Mr. Bungle, yeah, some Mike Patton side projects, and you're gonna be like, okay, I can see it. No. And then what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say I don't think Les Claypool is exactly the greatest singer out there. I mean, he does a very good job. He makes the voice that he has sound very good with the music that they have. But I think his voice, I wouldn't put him up there with that.
You could almost say that he's more of just a poet. He's not really a singer. He's a storyteller. He's not really singing. He's just telling a story to the music.
No, I say Les's voice is so perfect for his music.
Yeah, you could almost say that it's kind of almost a slam poetry the way he presents it.
Like,
because this is a perfect one. This is Harold of the Rocks. This is a perfect example of what we're talking about, where he's just talking.
Yeah, it's a very cakey vibe.
Said, hey man, do you remember me?
I like the sing talkers, man. I dig it.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think that's one of the things I've never really paid attention to the voice very much unless it just doesn't match the music. Because of Primus. It's not about the beauty of the voice, it's about the story and about how the music follows the story very well.
I'm very in tune.
I think they could have made great soundtracks to some really obscure movies if they wanted to.
Yeah. And I think that's where you and I differ, is like I listen for the voice, like, because when you're like, who sang this or who, I can pick it up pretty quick, because like I tune into like the way someone sounds, and then I can go from there if I like. We're not. Hence your band over there. Hence your boys behind you. Just like I'm like.
You mean the greatest band of all time?
Oh no, man.
Who's the greatest band of all time?
Floyd.
Ugh.
What?
Duh.
Just can't. But yeah, like
There's nothing better.
I don't know.
We wouldn't have surround sound in a theater because of them. If it wasn't for them.
I don't necessarily like the Beatles either, so like it gives him a little bit of a heart stop.
How do I put up with this? Like, I don't understand how we have a show together given those circumstances. This doesn't make any sense.
See, I can give credit where credit's due. Like I can say that those two bands are very influential, very important, and we wouldn't have some of my favorite bands if it wasn't for them. I just don't listen to them.
And you know why she doesn't like Tool?
Why?
Because she doesn't like the fans.
Tool
the
or
fans
Radiohead.
are too hardcore.
Like I like Radiohead, I like Tool, but like the fans ruined it for me, man. They'd be like, oh, man,
all of us fans are egotistical maniacs. We care so much.
If you find a real diehard Radiohead fan, and you're just like, man, that was a cool song, and you're like, okay, they're opening up notebooks. They got like, protractors, and you're like, yeah, I just want to listen. But that's me, like, I just want to listen to the song. Like, I just really like the song, like, I don't know if I have any one band, like, other than, like, the Pixies, that's one of my good obsessions, or, like, Violent Femmes, but, like, I don't, and these aren't even really obsessive bands that you can really get down into, so it's like,
no, they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like
punk in general is just pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of depth to it. And that's the one thing about Primus is each instrument by itself is enough of a storyline for hours of conversation. But you're right. When you talk about Pixies or punk rock in general, it's really just what that song's attitude is, or what it makes you feel like, or what are they writing about.
That's me. Like I'm all about like I never need to just go sit in a room and listen to this song for a minute. Like I'm always like I'm just like
We'd sit for hours and just do nothing but listen to music and sit in the basement, without a question, have a couple of drinks
that's
and
what Pink Floyd people do.
play a card game or a video game and just chill. I mean, that was our
But
whole. But again, we had nothing else to do in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, either.
I was just going to say, you got to remember, wintertime that was a good solid 5 months of snow, right?
Miserable.
And the month before and the month after were also cold months with possible snow, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking 7 months where you're in cold weather, and you do a lot of things inside, you know.
So you do find yourself sometimes sitting in a dark room just listening to two fossils swimming in a fishbowl.
All right. So, one time,
Tell me about it.
I was sitting in a dark room, to the same point, in my house at Mount, at college. Both Jason and Adam were both there. And I had this awesome house right across the street that we enjoyed for a couple years. It was the time of my life.
Okay.
And Adam and I are chilling in our living room, and we've got a sheet hanging to separate the living room from the kind of dining room area.
True college decor. I love it.
And it was a tie-dye that I made.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
Sure.
Okay.
How could I forget?
My computer was a computer that I personally made with my dad.
Okay.
And back then we always used the Dazzle screensaver.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the Dazzle screensaver going on in the background, which was illuminating. It was the only light in the room, and it was illuminating it and making it change and stuff like that. And Adam and I are sitting there kind of talking and kind of spacing out on the song and what we're listening to and just really getting into it. And all of a sudden the dazzle kind of disappears as it like fades out into black for a split second before it starts again. Mm-hmm. And right at that moment, and it started back up, I didn't think he had a head.
See?
I thought he lost his head. I panicked.
You're okay. I'm okay.
And I had to have I'm fine, you're fine, we're all fine.
Moment.
I'm just fine moment.
It's okay.
Remember that one? I had to go into my room and I had to sit down for a minute and take a breath and
see, that's what happens.
I really did panic. I really did think I lost my friend's head for a second.
My friend did lost his head. He ain't got no head.
I had this awesome table in the kitchen that you could lift up and walk into the basement. And that's where we had all of our games. We'd play 3-man and we'd play so many.
Wait, what? You had a table?
Yeah.
Like
There's a table made of this
door?
exact same stuff. It looked just like this. It was big, wide open, but it had a slit or had a hinge, and you could lift it up and prop it in there and open a door, and there was a stairway down into the basement underneath it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And it was the center of our universe. That's where we had everybody. If you were playing drinking games, that's where you played them, because it was a big enough table to have 3, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 people around it.
And when you get bored, just crawl into it.
Yeah, we never told anybody that very often. We kind of kept that quiet to internal. We didn't need anybody
It
doing
was
that.
hard. You had to lift it up to go down, and the table was always full of drinks and whatever else, right?
Yeah,
So
it was always shit.
actually get to the point where you could lift that up and get in there, that was a rare occurrence.
Yeah, it'd take you half an hour just to be able to open it.
You could be like, well, you know what? I'm out of here. Just knock everything off the table. It would be a great exit.
Then I used to take, I don't know if you remember this too or not, but I used to take the big marker. It's called the Magnum. You remember this?
Open it up.
And I would open it up and leave it on the table and walk away, not tell anybody.
You're just getting everyone high.
And I'd come back and I'd see how everybody's doing, and they're all like, well, like acting silly, and I'd cap it back up and put it away, and no one would ever know I was doing it.
Did anyone want to huff today? Because that's what's happening, y'all. To be young again, to be in college and do all this stuff, it's
Can you tell the story of the last thing you guys did when you left that house?
I'm afraid to.
Is that an off-the-air story?
You mean the waterbed?
The fish.
Did you
fish?
put fish in a waterbed?
No.
Didn't you put fish in the vents?
Fish in the
And
vent?
in the drop ceiling before you guys left the house because you were pissed at the landlord?
I don't remember that part. I remember putting a hole in the waterbed and flooding the whole apartment because I didn't know looked at the weight, like I put it in the middle because I didn't want them to be able to use the waterbed and I didn't want to remove it. So I sliced the waterbed and thought it would be cool. And I walked away and started to see it sink down in and the water start to come back out and start to go down. And I'm like, ah! So I had to like get a hose and open the window and put it in there and start pumping it out. And I put a note. It was like, this was an accident moving out. I'm sorry. I do remember that.
Did the apartment come with a waterbed?
Yes, it was there.
I don't know that.
No, that waterbed was there because
remember
Marty had
that
it.
waterbed, though.
I forget who brought it in, but it always stayed in that room. Yes.
Yeah, those were big bitches and hard to move.
Yeah, because I had one growing up in my room. Like, and what I would do, and he knows my insanity of my wrestling, but what I would do is I would set it at 100 degrees that morning, so that when I got home that night, it would be that hot if I had to cut weight. And I would put like 3 blankets on top and wear like 3 or 4 layers of clothes, and I would drop 10, 15 pounds overnight. Wake up completely dehydrated to try to cut weight, to make weight the next day and stuff like that.
Squishy.
So I lived in a waterbed and loved it. I mean, it was the best.
The story I remember about your bedroom at your parents' house was when we were guards out at the club. We were lifeguards out at this country club.
Yeah.
When I say country club, it's not the country club you're thinking of. It's literally the word's literal, right? It's a club out in the middle of the country. It was a lake, no restaurant,
That's a good point.
nothing like that.
It is the literal term of a country club. It's not a fancy place. It's literally a club in the country, yeah. Good point.
When you hear 4 or 8, it means like
Right next to the hunting club.
someone might be shooting at you. Be careful.
Oh no, all the time you heard gunshots in the background because there was a hunting club next door, no kidding. No kidding at all.
Rick and I spent a lot of time at that place. We were both lifeguards there, and
Yes.
that would probably be another podcast.
That's
But,
the Nirvana podcast. That's the point of the Nirvana one.
It was definitely a huge part of our time.
And our
But,
friendship too, because we did, like I was saying before, how they kind of had their own little world that I was a part of, and we all had our own little worlds going on.
Yeah.
But I was more a part of this world because of our lifeguard background, because we were together in wrestling. Him and I were together all the time. So
you were a wrestler too?
That's why he's here. Yeah, he wrestled with me. He got his ass kicked by me all the time. It was a normal thing for everybody. And don't, yes, you did.
He's like, now
I'm
listen.
not denying it. I'm just amazed by your cockiness, but I don't know what.
It's never faded.
It's never changed, my friend. I tried to calm it down for years, but when you get me on camera, I got to let it go.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be a good show if I didn't.
If you get him on camera, if you get him out to a restaurant, if you just say something random in conversation, you get the
He didn't get the stairs. The stairs were were after him.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
they didn't. I didn't do the dumb
stairs.
stairs back then. That wasn't until Savannah.
That was until Savannah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he that's before that stage.
But back to my story, Rick decided we used to like catch frogs, turtles, whatever, because there was a swimming lake, and then there was a dike, and then there was a big fishing lake. And so we used to take it back all the time. So Rick brings, he catches a spider, and he takes it back to his house. He puts it in an aquarium, and he's feeding it little fish. We take little fish to it, this, that, and another thing. And he calls me one day in the morning. He's like, "You're never going to guess what happened." I woke up and my wall was moving. I didn't know if it was something from the night before, what was going on. But as he got closer, and he knew that this was happening, right? Because you'd seen the egg sac before.
Gross.
All the big spiders came out, and they literally covered his wall in spiders. Actually, I should let him tell the story because I'm telling it from him telling me it.
Did your mom want to murder you? I would have killed.
She never found out.
Oh God!
They didn't. Your parents barely ever went in your.
Then you go and spray the whole thing with bug
everything.
spray. Of course, kills everything that's in the aquarium too. So he killed his aquarium. Just murdered the.
Okay, so, all right, so let's backtrack a little bit on this part of the story. We're not going to go into all the country club stuff, but we will go into this story. We have a lot of downtime at the club.
Okay.
A lot of downtime.
And I'm a huge fisherman too, so I'd go out fishing all the time, and so I had that mentality of like learning the lake. I was also at the time. No, I wasn't working at the pet store at the time. That was afterward. But we both worked at pet stores a lot of because of these things.
Yeah.
Because of our obsession with the aquariums and everything in the lake and everything like that. So we had
an iguana. I had a Savannah monitor.
In fact, I think it was. I think I was home for the summer. I think I did. I think it was after I went to Mountain. I was home for the summer lifeguarding. I think that's when this happened. because I do think that I was working at the pet store, and that's how I knew how to make all this happen in the first place. I had a 10-gallon aquarium, but I didn't have a filter, so I knew I had to have plants in it. Like I created a pond. I created a pond that was self-contained and everything like that, that it didn't need anything else.
Yeah.
But by doing that, I would fish the edge of the water with a net and pull the muck out and pull things out of it. Like I had leeches and bugs, and I had like all sorts of things that I felt like you needed to have in this, and if you were making a pond.
Yes.
All the different details you don't think about.
Right.
So I put all these kind of things in there, and I caught what they call a fishing spider, and it walks on the water, and then it goes under the water and turns silver because it has so many hairs close together it can hold air. So it becomes this bubble and goes under the water. So I caught one, and I'm talking like,
Big ass spider.
big garden spider. You've seen big ones, like, yeah. And I didn't understand the whole idea of male-female back then. So I caught it, I put it in there, and I fed it. And that's what like he helped me catch things to feed it all the time. I kept putting little catfish I kept catching in there. And he would eat an entire catfish a day. And
Feeding his babies.
Well, the babies hadn't
birth.
formed yet. That hadn't happened yet. And so then I caught another spider, and I was so proud of myself. I was like, wow, this is going to be cool. And the spider couldn't get out, so I thought everything was fine. I had a little frame over the top of it. No big deal. So I put another one in there. And I told him the one day, I was like, you wouldn't believe what I saw last night.
They were fighting.
They were fighting. And the female was going after the male. And he's like, or I forget who, I don't know if I knew it too. I was like, I think they mated, and she was going to kill it. And so she got it, and it was amazing to watch because he was up on the screen trying to find a way out.
Oh my god, he was running for his life.
Oh yeah, and I put him in a cage, like he couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
So she kills him, drags him to the middle where I have this little twig, and hangs him from the twig.
Jesus.
And then a little bit later, all of a sudden, there's this egg sac right beside the dead spider. Well, I don't know the whole time he's not dead; it's paralyzed.
Oh what? Oh. Okay.
It's food. That's what they do. The female kills the male and strings it for the food for the babies when they're born.
That's insane. Nature's wild, man.
Wild compared to our society now.
Hardcore. Nature's hardcore.
For real, man.
So I'm watching all this and having a good old time. Like that's why she was eating so much, because she was pregnant. And I'm watching the leeches in the bottom. Like it was quite the ecosystem I had going on in this little spot.
How old were you?
18.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense
19.
on why your parents weren't coming in. Because I was like,
Yeah.
why is there no one being like, what do you have
I've been
in
19.
this?
Yeah, because
What is
I
going
lifeguarded for a
on?
couple of years after I went to college. I came back and lifeguarded every summer.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
so so then one day I come back and I'm like, oh my God, there's spiders all over. I never understood that they would get out of the cage. I thought they'd get stuck in it.
God, it's so gross.
I don't think
I
about
could
how
throw
small
up.
they would be, but you have to think that
They're horrible.
this
They're
isn't
so
leaning against the
tiny.
wall. It's not like
Yeah.
it's touching the wall. So they had to go out, go down, and go back up. And in the magnitude of what that meant in my head, I mean, it was an entire wall of little tiny creepy crawlies. So my idiotness doesn't think even, I mean, I panic. I'm like, oh my God, if my parents find this out, she's going to flip out.
Yeah, she would.
So I run and grab Raid, and I spray the entire wall, and I kill every single one of them. And I'm spraying, and I'm killing them, and I'm spraying, and then it doesn't occur to me until after that happens. I watch the mist go into my aquarium, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, leeches.
I saved one leech, 2 catfish, and one of the catfish jumped out of the bucket that night and killed itself. So I saved 1 catfish and 1 leech.
Oh.
Everything else died.
R.I.P.
And I never did it again.
R.I.P. Rick's ecosystem. That's rough. That's a rough one.
Because you were working at a pet store up in Kent around the same time also. That all kind of plays together as to we also both worked at pet stores and talked about this stuff all the time. And I mean, we knew a lot about fish. It was pretty crazy.
We did fish, man. We were fish guys.
We were John the Fisherman.
John the Fisherman. I like
And the
it.
place I shop at, they were hardcore into fish. He had more fish than anything else. He was really into fish. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Fish food.
So
I like it. I think we definitely have to have you back because I'd love to hear some more stories,
well,
especially concert
the
stories.
Nirvana thing is all about the country club and swimming.
Yeah.
It's
Creepy ass
it's a
spiders.
long thing about the two of us because again, we have our own history within our friends. That's a very deep history that nobody else has. Like nobody else was lifeguarding all the time together. You know, there's this whole other side, the wrestling too.
Yeah.
You know, our core friends were not doing wrestling; they were doing other sports. So the two of us have this unique history over and over of just the two of us doing things outside of what our friends were doing at the time.
Yeah.
And that's one more of them.
I dig it. Aw. So next you have to tell me some embarrassing stories and give me some like.
Yeah, Rick. I was thinking the same thing. I think Rick got a couple good jabs in on me this round. We'll definitely have to have round 2 where I'll be on the offensive a little bit more. I think. So.
We'll circle back around to him. We'll get him. I like it.
I wish you the best of luck, sir.
He's a fast talker. He's gonna talk over you. He's gonna make it to where you're like, I can't get that story.
No, I
in,
will
though.
not.
No,
I would never.
Not you.
How dare you say that?
I don't. I. I'm thinking.
I'm just trying to be polite. I mean, you guys are the host, so I figure I have to kind of give in. To,
No, you get in where you
I
can.
warned her ahead of time. She
Get
was
it where
allowed to
you-
ask you any question she wanted to.
But I didn't get to ask anything because y'all it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really do want to finish this Grateful Dead conversation. Like,
Well, all I can tell you is somehow I found my car. Somehow I drove home, and he was the only one that stayed up with me the entire time. The rest of the group fell
that's
asleep.
a good friend. That's how you know you got a good friend there.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and the road was purple the entire drive home.
oh my god,
That's all I can say.
to be young again.
And I kept asking him if the road was purple, and I'm colorblind. So
And he's
it was
like, yeah,
even-
it is.
But we didn't know I was colorblind back. Yeah, we did by then. I think that was about the time because I don't know. Maybe you guys realized I was colorblind and I didn't know it, but I didn't find out I was colorblind until I took color theory in college. So there was no confusion, or right before that maybe. But I didn't know I was colorblind for a long time. So I don't know how that was probably another weird question of how often I was off on color and didn't even realize it. Because we didn't know that for a long time.
Yeah, but I don't think you would say something strange that didn't really make sense, and nobody really thought twice about that coming from you. So
One thing that Jason always used to say is wreck.
Wreck.
Yeah, everything's wrecked or it's wrecked, and I always thought he said Rick,
It's wrecked, man.
and I'd always answer, and he'd be like, everybody else
Not-
understood wreck. I was the only one that was like, why do you keep saying Rick?
Why you say my name so much, Jason?
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was the word we use a lot.
All right,
was
man.
it.
Thanks for joining us. It was great
Thanks
having
for
you
having
on.
me. It was good catching up again. It was very nice to meet you,
It
Liz.
was so nice to meet you. I hope we can do this again soon. It was fun. I like
Look
it.
forward.
Yeah, we'll plan in a couple weeks to try to do this history of Nirvana. It's
Yeah.
another epic story.
Give me some good dirt on Rick over here. We gotta get some good stories.
Awesome, man. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy.
We will see you next time.
All right, thank you. See ya. Bye.
Bye.